Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show for the FireKeepers 400 from Michigan International Speedway. With almost no spoiler and a new downforce package this weekend, we are down an inch and a half on the spoiler. We're going to have some crazy racing as they're going to have to slow down into the turns. We're going to have a lot of good passing, a lot of good racing, and possibly some wrecks this week. And we're going to dive deep into all the racing action. But before I do, I think it's only appropriate that we pay a proper tribute to a fallen legend. Last Saturday, Muhammad Ali passed away, and Ali was, is, and will forever be, in my opinion, the greatest. Not just in the ring, but in sport in general and as a human being. The world lost the titan of sport and of humanity last week. If you're too young like I was and never got to see Ali fight, trust me, watch his fights, watch his interviews, his speeches, read his words. He's one of my heroes, and he will definitely be missed. His words and actions have inspired thousands, including myself. And I'll wrap this up with my favorite Ali quote, and then we can get into all the racing actions. Ali once said, "It's impossible is just a word thrown around by small men who find it easy to live in the world they've been given. Then explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. Nothing is impossible." I love Ali. With that said, Adrian, get us into the track breakdown for this week, and let's get back to racing.
Awesome. Yeah, very well said, Poppa. This weekend, guys, we're at Michigan International Speedway in Brooklyn, Michigan. Michigan is a 2-mile shaped D oval. Racing in the Irish Hills of Michigan, it's a long track, and it puts a lot of strain on these motors. So teams are going to be watching this weekend to limit practice laps so that they don't put as much stress on the motor, because they keep these things up at full song, pretty much the entire race. When they tested here earlier this month, 212 miles an hour, guys. These guys are screaming at Michigan. I'm glad I don't have their job because I don't know if I could do it like they do. There's a 0% chance of precipitation this weekend with a high of 77 degrees. Great weather should make for great racing, and with this new downforce package, these guys will be sliding around. The track should get nice and hot and slick. With no rain, the rubber should stay down from today's Xfinity race. Should just be an overall great race. And I do want to say, before we move any further on in the show, to announce the winner of last week's Chase Elliott Hero Card. We had a lot of people comment, a lot of interactions on the show, which we love to see, guys. Congratulations to Taco DFS. You win the signed Chase Elliott rookie card. Congratulations. Leading to this week's racing action in Michigan, guys. Should be a really fun race, and can't wait to get into it.
We have another little special thing, and Liehr, go ahead and tell everybody about this awesome thing that we're going to try to do for our fans.
All right, boys. Good to be with you again, as always. So our giveaway, hopefully it'll happen this week. But basically the stats for this is we'd like to get 1,000 viewers, and you would also need to like and comment on the show. As always, we always like to interact with our contributors. So when you guys comment, we obviously will always respond. But if we reach that 1,000 view limit, we've been doing fairly well. But going to be giving away and sending this to somebody. It's from our home track here at Kansas, SpongeBob SquarePants 400 from 2015. It's going to be a diecast 124 of the Greg Biffle 16 Roush Fenway, but also too, it is signed there on the windshield, and then also it is one of 144. So it is a fairly rare diecast. So we will be sending that to one of you. Like I said, just make sure that you share with your friends. Hopefully we'll get up to that 1,000 views, and then we can send this out to somebody that comments and likes the show.
Dude, that car is sweet, and hopefully we get to that number really quickly.
Yes.
But, guys, we've done enough preliminary stuff. Let's get into the actual race in action. And it's time for the Burnin Rubber segment. Liehr.
Burnin Rubber, baby, from the Irish Hills of Michigan.
All right, Adrian, please come bring us back from that awful Irish accent and give us your Burnin Rubber pick.
That was actually pretty spot on. I like it, Jamie. All right, guys. My Burnin Rubber pick this week is going to be the most expensive driver on DraftKings. So go ahead and settle in. I'm taking Kevin Harvick in the number 4. He's starting in the 29th position, and I'm sure that just like I did, just like these guys did when you all looked at the starting lineup and saw Harvick starting in the 29th hole. It's pretty much a must play, guys. That guarantee for place differential just makes it a really exciting play, and it's almost like a free space that we've kind of talked about. He limits your salary, but the potential you can get in there just from how far back he's starting really helps out your team. He has runner-up finishes in 5 of the last 6 Michigan races. I mean, second place in 5 of the last 6 races. He's got to break through for a win here soon. I mean, that's just crazy to finish second that many times. It's just simply a team that's capable to win when they show up at the track every single week. There's not many drivers in the series like that. You have Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson. I wouldn't put many drivers in that category that can go to the track and legitimately win every single week. But I think Kevin Harvick is in that position. Just like this newer downforce package actually will allow for other teams that haven't been able to keep up with JGR all season. It's going to limit the playing field, guys. It's kind of a clean slate for these guys. They've ran this kind of downforce necessarily at a track like Michigan, but I just think this is only going to help the teams that are hoping to catch up to the speed that Joe Gibbs Racing has had. Not to say Joe Gibbs won't be fast again with this package, but it kind of evens the playing field a little bit. I estimate that Kevin Harvick's ownership percentage is actually going to be somewhere around 46 to 48%. It's kind of high, but just based on what we've been seeing lately and with this starting position and just the overall prefer, I think that's a pretty accurate estimation of what his ownership will be. Harvick only needs to finish 9th for a 50-point outing. That's without any laps led or fastest laps. So, I mean, if you can get a 50-burger with a 9th place finish, and Kevin Harvick is definitely going to finish 9th. Unless he wrecks, he's going to finish top 5. That's just how I see Kevin Harvick. Like I said, most expensive driver, but his place differential just makes him hard to fade this week, and I think it's just fade at your own peril. What do you guys think?
I'm all about the Kevin Harvick this week, fellas. I mean, it's hard to not take a guy that's starting in that position, especially with his, track history here. He's got, just unbelievable history, 30 starts total. And like you said, 5 out of the last 6 races, he's finished second. That includes the spring and the fall race. So, with his salary being $10,600, it's gonna, circumvent your team a little bit as far as going to be harder to fit, people that you may want on your team. But Kevin Harvick is going to be a must own this week, boys. Everybody out there, you got to make sure that you put him on your lineups, at least majority of your lineups, because the guy's going to definitely be a big producer. His average fantasy points this year is 67. It's down a little bit after, last week because he only scored 41 points, but he's going to be a must own this week to take down those GPPs. And, like you said, with that new aero package that they got with the lower spoiler and the big splitters on the front end, I think that's, experienced drivers like Kevin Harvick, it's only going to help them because it's obviously going to, with doing that with the cars, it's going to put more of an emphasis on the drivers and the driver's skill and less on the car itself. And you're not going to get any better than Kevin Harvick. So I'm with you right there. He's definitely a must play this week.
Yeah, guys, I'm not going to rehash all the reasons why you guys are on Harvick because I'm all over him too. You guys pretty much covered it. The reality of the situation is every time one of the superstars has started from 25th or back, you've had to have them on your lineup or you had no shot at winning a GPP that week. And that has been consistent all throughout the season. So if Adrian's right that only 46 to 48% of the field are going to own him, then you can basically assume that 52% of the field is drawing dead in this tournament. And that's just the reality from what we've seen from NASCAR this season. So I will maybe have out of 15 lineups, maybe 3 that won't have Harvick on them, to be honest. That wraps up Harvick, guys, and I think that moves us to Liehr. Liehr, who's your guy to burn some rubber this week, buddy?
All right, guys. Again, as always, great to be here with you. But this week, I'm going with a guy that he's been doing really, really horrible lately. But going to be rolling out the old number 18, Rowdy Kyle Busch in the M&M's vehicle this week. Like I said, he's been anything stellar the last 3 weeks. Here's his stat for the last 3 weeks, boys. He's started 12th, 16th, and 3rd with finishes of 31st, 33rd, and 30th, with only 3 laps led in those last 3 races. So, his stock is down on Rowdy right now. So it's a good time to jump in on him. But fantasy owners, like I said, have been sour on him. Like in the past, he goes on a hot streak and then he goes on a little bit of a slump. And right now he's in that slump. But time for him and the 18 M&M's team to get it going again. Kyle doesn't really have, very, very much stellar stats here. 22 starts with 1 victory, 1 win, 4 top 5s, and 6 top 10s. Last year during the same race, which was known as the Quicken Loans 400, Busch went into the wall and finished 43rd. And he will be starting from the 9th position coming up on Sunday. And right now, Rowdy's the 2nd fastest in the morning practices here. And that's definitely a good sign. Like we talked about in the past, everybody, make sure you watch the practices today and you're up onto the 10 and 20 lap averages, because that's going to be a key component, knowing who's going to have the fastest cars going in the race on Sunday. But his cost is a little pricey, but $10,100 this week. But like I said, starting from that 9th position, he should have no problems moving up to the front and leading some laps and getting some fastest laps this week. And I think him and crew chief Adam Stevens, getting on the same page this week, and have him and that team poised to take home a victory this weekend. I see Kyle going out and just kind of having an absolute dominating performance. And in my personal humble opinion, I think he's going to be a must-own this weekend, somebody that you're going to have to roster, to take down your GPP this week. And I know that we're going with a couple of chalk guys here already for our Burnin Rubber, but it's one of those where you're going to have to own these guys to take down that GPP. So, definitely my recommendation is the number 18 in Kyle Busch.
I like the play. I think you're right that it's probably going to carry with it one of the lowest ownership percentages of the elite drivers. That I think you're going to have to pair with mine and Adrian's Burnin Rubber pick. We'll get to my pick here in a second. But honestly, that car looks good. It's running fast. And I love Team JGR. The way it sets up, I think you have to basically choose one of the other studs to pair with the 2 must plays. And, Kyle Busch is just as good a play, in my opinion, as Edwards, Hamlin, Kenseth, Logano, you name it, pretty much that top crew of drivers this week. And you're going to have to pick and choose which one of them you want to pair with the guys that are starting in the back that you have to have. But I love where your head's at here, Liehr. I'm never going to argue with you on Team JGR. Adrian, what's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, Jamie's kind of talking about how we're picking 2 chalk guys to start out, but, they're chalk guys for a reason. They produce points, and that's what you're going to need in these GPPs. With Kyle Busch, he hasn't been running very stellar, but Kyle Busch is kind of one of those drivers where the worse he's running, he could just come back the next week and absolutely dominate, like Jamie's saying. Kyle's not one of those drivers that lets momentum kind of get on his side too much. If you give him a good car, he's going to take it to the front. And, with this lower downforce package, you saw last year at Kentucky, Kyle, just absolutely went out there and wore those guys out. Him and Logano were the 2 guys you had to have last year at Kentucky. That's the first time they kind of had this new downforce package, with Kyle taking the victory in that race. Kyle's been fast all year, and Jamie's right. His ownership percentage is probably going to be down. I don't think his ownership percentage will be above 25%. And, at one point in the season, that was unheard of. Kyle Busch is just one of those players where I'm going to keep playing him until he's not running well, but he's going to break through at some point, and, people aren't going to have him when he breaks through, so I want to make sure I have him.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to have some Kyle Busch exposure.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I love the play. And I think that transitions us well into my Burnin Rubber pick, which I think is another one of the guys that you have to own. Actually, probably better since he's not in the Batman car. Put it on that way. Dale Jr. at 9,400. Guys, in his last 3 races, even though he hasn't been tearing it up as far as victories or anything, from a fantasy perspective, he's a guy that you want on your lineup, including the overall winning GPP lineups. The people that won the tournament had him on it last week. He scored 51, 44, and 50 points in the past 3 weeks fantasy-wise. At Michigan, he's also tied with Logano for the best average finish, 6th in the last 4 starts here. This includes 3 top 5s, 4 top 10s. He starts 27th, people, and should provide a plethora of fantasy points. So, Jose, how much would you say is a plethora? I'll tell you how much of a plethora. In that 4-race stretch, he has one race where he started 25th, finished 5th. That's over 60-plus fantasy points. That is a plethora, boys, and that's why you want him on your lineup this week. I think you need both Junior and Harvick, and that's where you have to start, and the majority of my lineups are going to start there and then go somewhere else. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Poppa. Those Chevrolets are going to be tuned up and screaming down the straightaways. I just want to make sure that I'm the one that has them on my team. These guys, the good thing about Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. this week are because they're starting so far back, you don't need them to lead laps. Like with a Kyle Busch, and to kind of pay off his salary, you kind of want him to go out there and lead laps and get fastest laps. But with Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr., you don't need that. You just need him to finish in the top 10, top 5 would be awesome. To really get you the amount of points that you're going to need. So, I just think they're both must plays, Kevin Harvick and Kevin Harvick and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And just like you said, you said it perfectly. You're just going to have to find another stud to put in there, and we think Kyle Busch is a good one.
There.
Oh, Mr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and that exalted number 88. Guy last year finished second in the Quicken Loans 400. He just got awesome history here. 33 starts total. That's got to be one of the most out of any active driver. But he does have those 2 victories here as well. So I definitely like Earnhardt Jr. Plus his cost is very reasonable, guys, this week. It's only $9,400. And he's been hovering around that same $9,300, $9,400 price point as far as your fantasy drivers. So, and he's been on a roll the last couple of weeks, and I really, with that 27 starting position, it's going to be hard not to roster him on your lineups because he's definitely going to have a top 10 finish, and hopefully he'll have a top 5 finish. And that's just definitely one of those players that you would have to have on your team to take down that GPP. So for unforeseen issues, hopefully nothing would happen, but he definitely has the potential to move up there. So it's definitely a guy that you're going to have exposure to this week for sure.
Yeah, I completely agree, guys. I think we've got great Burnin Rubber plays for people this week. Now it's time for our value segment. Adrian, kick us off with your first value play, brother.
Yeah, guys, this is where it gets even better. The value play this weekend is going to be, I guess it shouldn't surprise anybody, but I'm rolling with Chase Elliott in the number 24 Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. This kid has just been on a roll lately, and his price hasn't caught up to what he's been doing. That's just simply put. He's starting in the 10th position. He was the fastest in first practice with a speed of 201.630 miles an hour, screaming. And Chase has the 24 contending for wins, and at 8,400, I'm not going to pass up a guaranteed top 10. I don't know about you guys, but I see Chase as a guaranteed top 10 every week. The kid's he's just on a roll, and he just seems to find his way into the top 5 a lot quicker than most drivers do on a weekend. He has 2 Xfinity starts at Michigan, finishing 2nd and 6th, and he led laps in both of those races. The Michigan, it's going to test the machines more than anything. The Hendrick engines are going to be able to stand up to these tests more than any other. I feel like, the Gibbs cars are going to be strong. The Hendrick engines have a proven track history. So I really like the Stewart-Haas and Hendrick cars this weekend to be really fast, down the straightaways, which is what's really important here. Just like we kind of saw last weekend at Pocono. My call on the show last week was Chase Elliott, and he produced 70 points with the best race of his young Sprint Cup career, leading just over 50 laps. So I say feed the hot hand, and I'll be all over Chase Elliott until he proves me wrong. That's pretty much all I can say. I love the way this team's running. I love the strides that they've made, and just the way they've been able to get that car going fast very early for Chase. Hats off to Alan Gustin and those guys. I'm really happy with what they got going on. So what do you guys think about Chase Elliott this week?
Dude, by the way, great call last week. Obviously had to have Chase Elliott to take down any tournaments or heads ups that you were in, or Fantasy Live, whatever your preference. So again, nice call, bro. Not a ton of people were on him, but no, I'm right there with you. He's got having a top 10 start here, starting from the 10th position, and I'm really surprised that DraftKings themselves did not raise his cost. It's the same cost this week as he was last week, 8,400, and he's got a great chance to, just like last week, to move up and lead some laps and have some fastest laps. But every week, this kid's just been going out there, and getting it done and getting better and better every single week. And like you said, him and Alan Gustafson have really just building some great rapport with each other. I definitely like Chase Elliott this week. I'm going to be putting him in on a bunch of my lineups, and I definitely think you should too.
Yeah, dude, I completely agree. I love Elliott. Had to have him to win anything, basically, like, significant last week. Adrian was just spot on. And I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing because I completely agree with you. I was laughing because a beaver ran on the track and stopped qualifying in the Xfinity Series. I'm not even making this up. They just had to remove a beaver from the track. It was awesome.
Another one? They had one yesterday for
another one.
Oh, maybe that was a replay. Like, I was looking and I looked up and I saw him chasing a rodent down the track. It was awesome.
Well, you know,
Hey,
there's apparently a lot of
Saturday
beavers in the
morning.
Irish Hills.
Yeah.
Liehr, give us your value guy, buddy.
So, rolling my value play this week, you know, I definitely, this is one guy that hasn't been, you know, massively, you know, owned or played very much this season just because they've been qualifying really high every week. But I'm going to be going this week, boys, with the number 43, Aric Almirola, in that Petty Motorsports vehicle. You know, like I said, they've been massively disappointing this season. Aric has not been much of a fantasy player this year at all. They've been qualifying really, really high and basically making him a non-fantasy driver play every week. But Almirola's average fantasy point so far this season is 21, so obviously nothing stellar. But this weekend, he's got a bright spot for him and Richard Petty Motorsports as the fantasy racing is concerned with poor qualifying. But he will be starting from the 30th position. And as far as from a fantasy perspective, you as a fantasy player should be loving him this week because he obviously starting from that 30th position is going to have a great opportunity for place differential. And as far as the stats here at Michigan, nothing stellar. He's got 8 total starts, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, 0 top 10s. So a lot of people are going to look at that and go, I'm not going to play that guy this week. And exactly, I know what you're saying out there, but he doesn't have, you know, very good history. But his average starting position is 19th and average finish is 19th. You know, in this morning's practices, he was up in the mid-20s, and hovering around there. And his cost is the bright spot for him this week, obviously, with only being $6,400. You know, as far as getting somebody with a starting position of that, you know, being on one of the bigger race teams, so they have decent equipment. Obviously, you know, Petty is not in the same caliber as Hendrick or RCR or JGR, but you know, I have no problem for seeing him getting at least 7 times his salary this week, boys, and maybe reaching a 44, topping out between that 40 and 50 range. And he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to have on your team to win some tournaments this week. So my value guy is Aric Almirola, and I think you guys definitely should be playing him as well because he's going to need to be a must-own guy for you. And I think he's going to be one of those that a lot of people aren't going to be on because, you know, that history. So he should get pretty good low owner's percentage for you as well. Put you on those islands.
Yeah. No, dude, I like the Almirola play because of where he qualified. The only problem is, dude, is like, I mean, he just doesn't produce fantasy-wise. And the way I've been seeing the lineups this week is it looks to me like you basically you have the option to go with 3 studs and buy questionable middle tier, or you can go 4 stud and really punt down low. And the point totals, when you do the math, say that the bottom tier guys are the same at this track, like versus the middle that middle grouping of guys like Almirola and such. I'm not sure which way the dart throw should go. I'm just seeing like more often I want to put another stud in my lineup, and if I'm gonna have to guess, I'm guessing on a cheaper guy is what I'm saying. Adrian, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be even considering Aric Almirola as a play, and I don't think Jamie would either if he didn't qualify so bad.
Exactly.
I think that's, you know, what plays biggest into his you know, playability this weekend. You know, usually we wouldn't be on Aric Almirola because he's been qualifying decent, but he hasn't been running that well at all.
Right.
So I mean, you know, it gives him a nice cushion, I will say, starting that far back, because it's like even if he starts the race off bad, he's not getting you negative points to start the race off like he usually would. I think Aric Almirola will finish about 17th, 18th in this race. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. And I think 17th, 18th, I think that's fine, really, for your fantasy production. I think he's a capable enough driver to do that. And his cost is actually pretty cheap this weekend. So, yeah, just based on his starting position, I think he's a nice GPP play that most people won't be on.
Yeah, I mean, if you're right on that, it'd come out to roughly like 35 points or so. Like, that should be in that wheelhouse. It just depends on who you want to sit on. I actually like that. Like, all right. Like, Liehr, do you have any last thoughts on Almirola?
No, I mean, I like him, like I said, a lot. He's going to be in majority of my lineups. But, you're talking about, if you're looking at, salaries here, I mean, he's less than Ty Dillon, who doesn't even race full time on the circuit. Trevor Bayne is right around the same area, and same with Paul Menard and Danica Patrick. So, I mean, you want to put up that starting position against all those other drivers. For me, it's a must play.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and here's the one that's going to shock you for the value. I'm going to go with Brad Keselowski at 9,200. And before you guys all jump down my throat, that there's no way that 9,200 can be value. I've heard it from these two already. Up the YouTube comments page with the same thing. Please give me a chance to prove that he's actually the value I'm claiming he is. All right. First of all, before I get to the Poppa stats, I'm going to go all Liehr and tell you I'm really feeling the Keselowski this weekend. First of all, it's his home track. He is yet to win here, and I have this feeling that, especially coming off the solid third last week, that he's going to get it done here, qualifying out of the 15th position. All right. The reason why I really like him, the statistical breakdown. He grades out as the driver with the third best average finish here at 6.5 finishing average finish position, and grades out as the third best driver on this track by NASCAR loop data. His last four races here are a 3rd, 8th, 6th, and 9th. Each of those would give you enough points from his 15th qualifying position to provide value, even at the $9,200 price tag. He is the 10th most expensive driver. Statistically, he should be the 3rd most expensive driver on this track, providing yet another source of value. It all depends on how you define value, and I'm defining value as a way to get ahead of the field by making the smart choice, because DraftKings messed up the pricing here, in my opinion. Practice one, he was the 3rd fastest car in his 5-lap averages. So I love the Keselowski play. You guys can argue that 9,200 is not a real value in the sense of the word. Like, whatever. I think it's as value gets. Adrian, your thoughts, buddy?
Well, I had a stronger argument before I picked Chase Elliott at 8,400. He's only $800 less than Keselowski, so I can't really say that 9,200 is too expensive for a value play anymore on that tangent. But Poppa's just kind of right here. Like, he is too expensive to be a value, but there's no reason in forcing ourselves to pick drivers that we really don't like. So, I mean, that's why I went with Chase Elliott this week, who's a little more expensive, and that's why Poppa went with Brad Keselowski, who's a little more expensive. There's just not that lower tier of drivers that we really like this weekend, and that's really playing a role into this. But, I mean, Brad's been fast every week here lately. That car's really been showing speed. Starting in the 15th position, nice chance for place differential there. I think Brad Keselowski and Carl Edwards are those two guys that just seem like the type of guys who really excel when the car starts sliding around. And that's exactly what the cars are going to be doing this weekend. So, I mean, for me, it's hard to play Keselowski just because I like Carl Edwards so much, who's right around that same price tag. But, I'll probably play both of them.
Liehr.
Well, I'm going to pull out my inner Big Lebowski for the Brad Keselowski. And am I the only one here that gives up about the rules? Hero. I love Brad Keselowski here. I mean, the guy's got great stats. But as far as a value play, come on, man. $9,200 is not value. You got to reach deep down in the roster there and pick somebody that's, I mean, a little less expensive than $9,200. But, dude, you did make some great arguments there. with the stats of being the 10th highest costing guy, where he should be the third highest costing guy. Where I do agree with you, DraftKings did kind of screw that up there with him. But him and I mean obviously Penske, Logano starting on the pole, and Keselowski, they're basically the same equipment. So he does have a chance to move himself up. And last week, he would have obviously scored a lot more points if they didn't screw up and get that dent in the quarter panel and have to come in and get that taken care of. But, it is his home track here in Michigan, and he, like you said, he doesn't have a win. Is it going to happen this weekend? I don't think it's going to happen this weekend. I think he possibly might have a top 5 finish. But depending on what their strategy is, with the number 2, they could, take some risk and put themselves in a position to get the win versus some of the other guys out there in teams. But definitely, like Keselowski, I'm just not going to be completely all over him. But I will have some minimal exposure to him this week.
But Liehr, if he does finish top 5, that would make him an extreme what for his price tag? Value, right? And since he's priced cheaper, like you said, that makes him a value play. See how that works? I'm clever. All right, now that we got me being shady with definitions out of the way, let's go ahead and do the going to the garage segment. Remember, kids, this is where we like to talk trash on the drivers. Maybe we like to talk trash on their equipment. Maybe we like to talk trash on the way they perform at this track, and maybe it is that just their pricing's wrong. Maybe it's that we love the drivers, just not the right week to play them. Let's start off with who Adrian has going to the garage this week.
Yeah, you kind of nailed it there. It's somebody that I like, but because they qualified too high. And somebody I was all over last weekend for great reason, because Newman produced very well. I was, at the end of the race when the fuel mileage stuff was going on, I saw a lot of guys, slipping and sliding around, but it seemed like Ryan Newman was able to get by loud. So I like Newman just because of his experience and knows what to do when the tires are worn out. But just starting in the 6th position, it's just too high for Newman. With him only having one top 10 in the last 6 races at Michigan, it just doesn't seem like a very viable option at 7,100. There's a lot of guys I like more at this price that maybe cost less money. I would rather play Paul Menard in a heartbeat than Ryan Newman this weekend. There's not a lot of better options out there, but because Ryan he's just not going to pay off for your fantasy teams, and it sucks because I think Newman's going to be quick this weekend. But I think he's going to be top 15 quick, not top 5 quick, and that's what you're going to need at starting in the 6th position. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's not someone that I necessarily think is going to the garage, but it's somebody that I do not like this week.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Way too high qualification for Newman, and he's just like some of the other tenured guys on the circuit here. I mean, guy's got 29 starts at Michigan. He does actually have 2 wins, but gosh, that came over 10 years ago, back in 2003 and 2004. Newman at 7,100. A lot of people will probably look at that price and find that enticing, especially too, since he's starting all the way up there to the 6th spot. But I don't know, guys. We'll probably play a one of them, maybe 1 or 2, just for that off case where some reason they're just got their stuff together this weekend, and he goes up front, leads laps, fastest laps, because it's pretty crazy, but we've got 5 Chevys in the top 10 starting, and Chevy's been strong here. And RCR and Stewart Haas, especially with Tony Stewart getting that 3rd qualifying position. But I definitely think Newman is not going to produce you enough fantasy points to make a difference for you. So I'm right there with you. I would stay away from the Newman play for the most part this week.
Yeah, no, Liehr, and I thought it was awesome, dude, that you were just talking about how you were going to own him 1, maybe 2 times. Just for those of you that don't know, Liehr and I enter multiple lineups every week, right around like the 10 to 15 mark. And I would say that's about right. Like, you would want maybe 1 Newman just in case. But Adrian's analysis is just solid. The only reason you want it is just in case he's dialed in and that card just works and he gets to the front and takes it down. But
yeah, if you're playing limited exposure, he's just not someone you pick. Like I understand, like if you're
absolutely
playing multiple lines, but yeah, in a limited exposure format, Newman's just not someone that I would gravitate towards.
No, absolutely, and even in a multi-entry format, it's somebody that you still want to limit your exposure to, right? Like if you're limited exposure, you want 0. And if you're entering a bunch, you want a very limited exposure to him. And I'm glad Liehr brought that up. That was good advice, Liehr. All right, with that, I think we might be able to argue with his good advice. Liehr, who's your guy to go to the garage, buddy?
All right. Well, first I want to point out to all the viewers out there, I put myself out there again, little Rain Man, with the Harvick pick. He only scored, 40, I think it was 44, 45 points. And, with his salary, he only paid you 4 times your amount on what you got for him. So definitely was not on any roster that took down any GPP tournaments or anything like that. So same thing this week, guys. I'm going to put myself out there again. I'm not going to go with somebody that, is just an average driver and overqualified. I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to go with the Joey Logano in the 22, Pennzoil. Obviously, this one is not the Pennzoil, it's the AAA, but Pennzoil number 22, Penske. Guy, obviously, has been a decent fantasy driver all season long. This week at Michigan, he's obviously the pole sitter and has some great track history here. He's got 14 starts, 1 win, 3 top 5s, and 9 top 10s. So 9 top 10s out of 14 starts, that's pretty good stats. His only victory here came in 2013. Interesting. He started on the pole and won the race, so he went 1-1, and he led 51 laps here. His cost this week is 9,800. He was 3rd fastest this morning in practice with a top 10 for sure. I think he's going to finish with a top 10. But this week, like I said, with the Harvick play, and I'm just got this gut feeling, this Rayman feeling, guys, that Logano, he's going to lead a few laps out of the 200, not a lot. But I just feel like he's going to go back in the field, and I don't really think he's going to produce for you. He's going to be the same. He's only going to have about maybe 4 times, maybe top out at about 5 times, so maybe 45 points, for you, which at his price point, that's not going to help you take down any GPP. So my going to the garage guy this week is Joey Logano, and I am staying off of the Joey Logano play because also, too, he's going to be a really, really high percentage owned guy this week. And so that's going to put me on islands. And when I'm over there doing the hula on my island by myself, when he really messes up this week, you guys can say, hey, I listened to the Liehr Jet and stayed off of him.
Yeah, right. Just in case you didn't hear it earlier, I wanted to make sure you got your Rain Man tribute. All right, dude. I love you, Liehr, but really, this is getting ridiculous, man. From a fantasy standpoint, this is absolutely absurd. And I understand that you're running hot on your gut feeling, but dude, I can't sit here and tell somebody to not play Logano when he literally has the best freaking track history here. That is ridiculous. It is bro, Joey Bag of Donuts grades out as the best driver by NASCAR Loop data as well. In the last 4 races at Michigan, he has 2 top 5s, 4 top 10s with an average finish of 6th. Any of those still pay off as one to finish at the 99. This just doesn't make sense, Liehr. I love you, but and if you go back one more race, he has a win with a 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th in his last 5. I love you, bro, but this is after than the ownership percentage argument. And last week you made an argument that was, who cares about ownership percentage? I don't. You have to have him. In your point you made earlier, you said the one time he qualified on the pole here, he won and led all the laps. Bro, every argument you made supports that you need to own him, not that you should fade him. I'm sorry.
He didn't lead all the laps. He led 51 laps.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. He led 51, which would still make him the number 1 point getter at that race, and you would have had him to win any GPP. Dude, if I'm wrong, I'm going to be wrong for the right reason, not right for the wrong reason. And I'm sorry to call you out, but I have to. That was I just have to call you out. Adrian, your thoughts, man?
Well, I tell you my thoughts, guys. Joey Logano was going to be my Burnin Rubber pick. But since Jamie felt so strongly to make him his going to the garage pick, I figured I'd let him have his glory. But absolutely not. I'm all over Joey Logano this weekend. Starting on the pole, he's got that first pit box. Anytime they come off pit road, he's going to come off pit road with the lead. Last weekend with Keselowski, the pole position didn't exactly pay off like we thought it would. But wait, guess who took the lead from and made it impossible for him to lead any laps? Oh, yeah, that's right, Joey Logano. Joey Logano has finished in the top 10 in the past 6 races at Michigan. Jamie, but Joey Logano is he's going to be probably 70% of my lineups. I love Joey Logano starting on the pole with those guaranteed fastest lap, sled. I don't think he's going to fall back. I love Logano.
Yeah, I'm with you, Adrian. I do not understand this one for the life of me, bro.
I love Joey Logano.
You got an answer. I feel like we beat you up on that so bad, like we could even give you a response.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, but obviously, I've got my reasonings. You guys have your reasonings, and just like everybody out there, I mean, you got, personal reasons why or why not you play somebody. And just this week, I'm not feeling it from Joey. And I know, obviously, the data here, past data is a prediction of what's going to happen. But like I said, guys, I just have this really deep sinking feeling that something is going to happen to where it's just not going to happen for Logano this week, and he's not going to pay off for you if you put him in your lineups. So it's completely up to you out there. But like I said, I'm staying off him this week, and usually I'm pretty right on my gut predictions.
Oh, dude, no, you've been right 2 weeks in a row, bro. Calm down. Don't get a big head. And you were right. You were right for nonsensical reasons both times, bro. Let's call it for what it was.
And you were talking about it too. You were saying that the ownership percentage that I said it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is that Logano is going to be a highly owned guy. And just what I'm saying though is when he doesn't perform this weekend, and I don't have any of him, that's just going to separate me even more than everybody else out there.
But what I'm trying to say, and what I want to stress for our viewers, Liehr, is it seems to me like you're changing your argument every week depending on what your gut's telling you this play is. Perspective, I don't the long haul, and that's what I'm trying to express. To our viewers is you can't just say you can't just go with the gut and try to ride that. It won't. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that, and you end up hemorrhaging money. I feel like that's the difference between a casual player and somebody trying to be a professional player is going with gut versus going with statistical play.
I gotcha.
But that's just my thought process, and I'm not. I get where you're at, and I love you, but I cannot send him to the garage this week, bro. And if I'm wrong for the right reasons, so be it.
I just want to kind of mention to our viewers, our place here is to not tell you who you have to pick. The point of these arguments that we have, maybe you agree with Jamie, and maybe Jamie says something that really enforces the fact that you don't want to play Joey Logano, or maybe you didn't know anybody else was feeling that way. That's one thing that we really are trying to sway your opinion. We're just trying to give you how we feel about this weekend. And maybe that's not always right, but I feel like most of the time we're making the right plays. And these arguments that we have are not to tear each other down. They're just basically to support the argument more. Most of you guys that are watching this video, you might have certain opinions on certain drivers. Poppa says something, or I say something, or Jamie says something that contributes to your argument that kind of reinforces a pick for you or helps you get off of a certain guy. That's why we're here, is to help you feel better lineups.
I'm sure I might get roasted this week on the comments from the viewers, but hey. Whatever happens.
You're definitely going to get roasted if you don't pick Joey Logano.
Yeah.
No, dude. I love what we do here in that, it's because, in the way I try to approach fantasy is literally a marketplace of ideas argument. So, no matter where you stand, when you start having these conversations, these arguments with each other, it makes you better because, you refine your lineups out of these arguments and out of feeding back off other people. It allows you to not settle into your own narrow where you, for example, sometimes Adrian will turn me on to plays that I'm not on, and Jamie will do the same, or I'll turn them on to plays that they're not on, and vice versa. That's what this process is all about. We all love each other, but we get heated because it's fun. And with that said, I think it's time to make fun of another driver, and this driver has been a pile of hot, wet garbage for DFS purposes. And that is, before I get there, I want to ask you boys a trivia question. Who is the driver in the last 4 races that has totaled a total of 31 fantasy points in 4 races?
Oh, are you talking about the driver that has a permanent plaque with his name on the wall in the garage? Sounds to me like Tony Stewart.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Guys, like, I hate to keep coming back to the well, but, like, you've got to not play Tony Stewart, qualifying 5th. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Qualifying 3rd.
I'm sorry, I read the wrong stat. Qualifying 3rd. His last, he's above, he's 7,300, and since the incident, he's had 2 finishes here, and we've talked about the implications of the incident multiple times, but he's finished 15th, and he went from 15th to 28th, a negative 13th place differential, and from 5th to 21st, a negative place differential of 16. He's way overqualified at 3rd. There's just no way. Like, you send him to the garage, guys. Oh, you're looking at negative points. Last weekend, we sent him to the garage, and he finished with a negative 16. Like, this is a play that I'm confident about. And if Smoke somehow pulls it off, like, fair enough, dude. Like, I'll let the 5 random people in the tournament didn't know what they were doing win some money. Like, that's where I'm at on Stewart. Your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if they pick Tony Stewart, it's because they don't know what they're doing. I'll just be honest with you. The way that guy's been running and the way that team's been performing, they brought decently fast cars to the track, but man, Tony Stewart's luck has just been terrible. And you know, with them not exactly, you know, to be able to run top 5 in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series ducks in a row, I don't think that team has all their ducks in a row. I think, you know, their speed is right there with Dan, because to be honest, Tony just is a better driver, so he can, you know, make it look better sometimes. But for some reason, the 4 and the 41 seem to be really fast to Stewart Haas, but the 14 and the 10 are just somewhere falling behind. I'm not exactly sure what that is. You know, Hendrick kind of has the same problem with Casey Kane in the 5. But yeah, anyone that plays Tony Stewart this weekend is clearly making an uneducated choice, because starting in the 3rd position, he's not going to move up. He's only going to fall backwards. I see him finishing about 22nd if he doesn't crash.
Liehr?
This is what I love about our show, is because, I mean, anybody that has been playing fantasy NASCAR, daily fantasy NASCAR on DraftKings, obviously seeing Tony Stewart stick out like a sore thumb from that 3rd starting position, you'd be an idiot not to say, oh, I'm not playing that guy, even though he costs $7,300. But that's why I love our show, is because Poppa is going to go with the safe play, where I myself would rather put myself out there and go with somebody a little bit higher than that. But I definitely am not on the Tony Stewart play, and I know we've hashed it out, a few weeks in a row. But do me a favor, guys. Don't play Tony Stewart.
Now's for the time of the show where we actually set a lineup in the NASCAR 30K lug nut. Liehr, can you believe, buddy, that we're playing in a 30K $5 contest when we were playing for 5K last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to think that how far we've come in DFS fantasy NASCAR, and how much money is starting to roll into these contests. And it's awesome. I love it. More competition, the better. Bigger prizes, and it just helps grow the community, the fantasy NASCAR community, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely.
So, guys, it seemed to me that we were in agreement that we need to play both Junior and Harvick this week. Is everybody in agreement? Absolutely. That's where we should just start this lineup for everybody?
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
All right. Absolutely. Well, that way we weren't burning picks on that and re-explaining something that we have already explained. Like, guys, I just think that combination is where literally every lineup you put together should start this week. And unless you're making a contrarian fade lineup, and we've talked about that before, but even when you're making that, I'm not sure you want to leave those 2 off. Like, the possible points is just way too high. All right, Adrian, where do you think we should go, buddy? We've got 7,500 left.
I want to go with Chase Elliott, but I don't know how strongly Jamie feels about trying to get Kyle Busch on this team, because if we pick Chase Elliott, we're not going to get Kyle Busch. What do you think, Jamie?
No, I mean, I definitely, that works, man.
Okay.
You want to make
we'll put Chase Elliott on there.
All right, we'll put Elliott on there. That'll be 7,200 per driver remaining. Liehr, where do you think we should go, bud?
Well, real quick, I want to get this in there, but I would totally, like I said, I love Kyle Busch this week. I also want to give some love too to his brother, Kurt Busch. That's another guy that you're definitely going to have to. We obviously didn't have a chance to talk about him much, but coming off the win last week at the Exalta 400 from Pocono, and then he's got some awesome history here, guys. He's got 30 starts. He's even got 3 wins with the win coming in last year. So he's starting 17th this week. So I would definitely find an opportunity to put Kurt Busch in there as well, because he's only 9,700. So he should be another play for you this week. But as far as our lineup goes, my pick to put in there would be Almirola. That way we can get some place differential. Also save a little bit on our salary there. So I would be torn between. My choice would be Almirola, but Almirola or Menard, I'm good with either one of those two.
All right. Well, I went ahead and locked in Almirola at 6,400. Menard saves us 100, so I'll tell you what. Like, since we were kind of like split over that, if we need the $100, we'll punt it. We'll punt down. If not, we'll roll with Almirola. How about that?
I found something kind of good here.
Okay.
If we put Almirola on the team, that leaves us an open spot. I'm really liking Brad Keselowski. We'd have to punt down for the last position, but we've talked about how that was already going to be one of our strategies.
If you would have let me make my pick, Adrian, I was going to throw Keselowski on the lineup. I was just going to be
we've done this too long. I know exactly what you want.
Right. I was just going to be like, I was going to make a point of making like the most expensive value play, but he's still a value play. We'll put Keselowski on the team. All right. Once you put Harvick and Earnhardt on, you have to make a choice, and you can either buy like a Keselowski with an Elliott and punt 2, or you can buy even 2 guys higher like the Kurt Busch, the Logano, the Edwards, the Hamlin, those guys in that range, even up to Jimmy Johnson, and you have to punt. But, I'm not sure that the math doesn't say that that's the best thing to do. So, with 6K left, who's our favorite driver down in the bottom of the barrel? We got Castle, Mir, Scott, Regan, De Benedetto, Busher, Witt, Annette.
Yeah, I don't.
And then I won't even mention the last 3.
I don't think it's a contest. It's Landon Castle.
That's exactly what I've been doing a majority of the time as well. And
I don't think it's even close.
And he was criminally underowned last week.
Well, and here's the crazy part too: is I think we've talked about this a little bit, Poppa, but he's stuck right between Dale Earnhardt and Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
If you're going to start between 2 guys that you want to start between, those are the 2 guys starting back in the late 20s. So
exactly, you just hope he hitches a ride.
The traffic, they're gonna find the holes, and he's just gonna follow them past people.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we were saying when we were talking last night. Guys, I love that lineup, and you'll be able to compete against that lineup in the 5K. Guys, remember, we encourage you to enter deviations of that lineup if you really like it as well, because usually that's what ends up taking down the tournament is a deviation of this lineup that we put together. But, guys, that wraps up another show of the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR show. Everybody have a good time?
Oh, that was fun.
Let's send us out.
Yeah, guys. Again, thanks for watching. We love, all we've been gaining over the past few weeks. The show's really picking up steam, and we're trying to do everything we can to provide the best content to you guys, so that you'll continue to watch. Been trying to, slowly make some tweaks to the show over time. Hopefully, you guys will notice it and enjoy those, and hopefully, we'll get some good feedback from you guys. But again, thanks for watching. Good luck to everyone at the Michigan International Speedway. And go Golden State Warriors. Let's get that championship, baby.
Liehr.
All right, fellas. Another great show. Want to say, everybody out there, appreciate you guys watching and interacting with us on YouTube. And then also the fantasydonks.com page. We've gotten some comments on there as well. So appreciate that. But also, too, again, do not forget to go on there and comment and like and tell your friends and tell your other friends and have them tell their friends and everybody else's friends. So that way we can get 1,000 views and we can give this diecast, SpongeBob SquarePants, Greg Biffle, to somebody out there. I would definitely love to give it to one of our viewers. So get out there and get some people to watch the show and comment on it. But otherwise, good luck this weekend to everybody out there. Michigan 2-mile track. It should be fun, especially with this new aero package. And I think we're going to have some good racing, and we're definitely going to get the racing on Sunday, boys. So I'm happy because I'll be able to actually watch it instead of working on it Monday.
All right, guys. I want to thank my fellow hosts for an amazing show. You guys did a great job this weekend, even when we were beating each other up over some picks. Guys, I want to thank each of you for tuning in and watching every week. You guys are part of the reason why we do this show, that and our love of NASCAR. And I don't want to end on a little bit of a somber note, but these things seem to happen in twos, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Gordie Howe, one of the greatest hockey players of all time, passed last night. And so it's tragic we're without two of the titans of sport, but they've inspired us all, and hopefully we'll endure without them, and their memory will live on. But with that said, guys, we'll be back after Father's Day. Remember, NASCAR doesn't do anything next weekend, so we'll be back. We're all of the racing action in 2 weeks. Have a good one, kids. Later.
As our boy AW says, by the people, for the people.
Well, that's a proclamation.
All right, later, y'all. Have a good one.
Have a great weekend, everybody.